guys.
Hi.
Good morning, good night, or good afternoon, or good 3 a.m. in the morning when you're binge watching all of the Axoschools videos because you want to get all of that knowledge.
Yeah, so welcome back. This week is going to be awesome because we're devoting the entire week to poetry. There are many different types of poetry, and we're going to cover quite a few of them throughout the week. But today is all about learning what makes a poem a poem.
Yes, I'm pumped. I love poetry. Poets are incredible wordsmiths that use their craft to depict some of humans' deepest and most complex emotions. It's crazy. I'm so excited to jump into reading some of these poems. But first, Mandana, there's one common thing that most poets use in their poetry. We've talked about it before. Do you remember what that is?
Yes. Poets like using figurative language. It brings a lot of zest to their words. We made a video about all the different types of figurative language. If you don't know what it is, or if you need a reminder, we will link that video below for you.
Yep, similes, metaphors, personification, all of those are types of figurative language that makes a poem pop.
Yeah, and you just used one, actually two, right there. Poem and pop, they both start with P. That's a type of figurative language. It's called alliteration. Pop is an onomatopoeia.
True. You're very right. Today we're answering a question: what makes a poem a poem? Many people think that poetry has to rhyme, but that's actually just not true. Not all poetry has to rhyme. There are certain characteristics that do make up a poem, however, and we're going to check those out right now. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we've got a PowerPoint for you guys today. All right. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. So what makes a poem a poem? So this is Robert Frost's definition of a poem. The reason I chose him is because he is a really well-known American author. He actually died in the 60s, but he has wonderful poems out there, and he's very famous. So this is what he said what a poem is, okay? There are three things, after all, that a poem must reach: the eye, the ear, and what we may call the heart or the mind. It is most important of all to reach the heart of the reader. I really love this one because I think that that's very true. I agree with Robert Frost in this moment because it reaches your emotions, right? The heart of the reader. So that's why I think poetry is so cool.
So now we're going to go over a couple of characteristics of a poem. The first one is that figurative language that we were already talking about. When you use a word or a phrase that does not have its normal, everyday, literal meaning, this falls into the figurative language category.
Next word we have is rhyme. Correspondence of sound between words or the endings of words, especially when these are used and at the ends of lines of poetry.
Yes.
Yeah, so like things that rhyme together, like lime and time. Anybody else have any examples?
Cry and buy.
House and mouse.
Cry.
Fame is lame.
What?
I said fame is lame.
Oh, fame is lame.
I didn't hear the first part. I was like, I don't think that rhymes, but yes, that is rhyme. The next characteristic of a poem is the rhythm of that poem. And you'll hear us talk a lot about these terms as we go throughout the week. So if you don't necessarily understand the definition or how they fit into poetry right now, trust me, we will point them out to you as we go along. But rhythm is important because it is a literary device that demonstrates the long and short patterns through stressed and unstressed syllables in a poem, particularly in verse form. Again, like I told you, these are kind of tricky definitions. You may not understand how they go into poetry right now, but we will point them out in our poems as we go along.
Yes.
So the characteristics of a poem, so another characteristic of a poem is meter. The rhythmic structure of a line of verse. So essentially the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in the word poem. The stressed syllable of po drives the word forward, and the unstressed syllable of is just along for the ride. So say it with me: Poem.
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 Yeah,
Poem.
very good.
Poem.
Another characteristic of poems is that they evoke emotion.
Absolutely. And so to give an example of this, there's a poet out there that actually created a poem all about emotion. And I thought she did a really nice job of putting it into words. So, emotion and the poet. Emotion is not tangible, but when the poet speaks, she stumbles upon sculptures the emotion that you seek. Emotion is undescribable, but the poet's lines, it nestles up upon the words and engulfs them in its tides. Emotion is a fickle friend, unsure if friend or foe, but when the poet writes, it's as if they know. Emotion and the poet, a conundrum to say the least. Each tries to slay the other, each fuels the other's beast. I really like that one. And it actually kind of talks about emotion and gives emotion personification as if it's a living, breathing thing. I think that's really awesome. So I really like that one. Let me get us back to here. All right, here we go.
All right, so our cool big adventure for this week is to create a poet tree with poetry. And here's what we're going to do. Each day we'll be learning a new type of poem. We will add our poems of that certain type to our tree. So each of us will be writing them, teachers included, and they will take up a leaf on our paper tree that we are going to put on the wall and call our poet tree. That will be part of our activities for today, and we will link a few ways you could create your own tree in the description down below. We're excited to show you what we come up with. The first type of poem we're going to be learning is the Limerick.
Yes.
A limerick is a humorous verse of 3 long and 2 short lines, rhyming A, B, B, A. Popularized by Edward Lear.
Mm-hmm. Can you read that example for us?
Yes, it's kind of tiny. There once was a sweet little frog who lived by himself on a log. He saw a fat fly and he said, "Oh my, I think I'll go out for a jog."
Very nice. So you can see that line 1 as well as line 2, frog and log rhyme, and then we've got our BBs, our fly and our my, they rhyme, and then we've got jog that rhymes with the A, rhyming pattern AA, BBA. All right. The next one is the limerick format, okay? So not only does it have to go AABBA, as we just said, where A rhymes with A and B with B, there is also a determination between syllables, okay? So line 1 and 2 usually have 8 to 9 syllables. They're our longest parts of the poem. And then our B lines are 5 to 6 syllables, our shorter part of the poem. So you'll see that in my example as well, where I kind of labeled the parts. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that right now. Here's my example, and I've labeled the rhyming pattern AABBA. All right. There once was a girl named Mandy. She loved cheese like people love candy. Then one awful night, she opened her fridge in fright. "There's no more cheese left," she said sadly. Okay, so I've got all of my A's rhyme, and I wanted to point out that this sadly doesn't necessarily rhyme exactly with Mandy and candy, but we call that a slant rhyme, meaning that it almost rhymes. Okay, so sadly is acceptable in this case because it kind of rolls off the tongue and it sounds like it rhymes with Mandy and candy. Okay, so we've got the rhyming pattern A, and A, Mandy, candy, sadly. Okay, then we've got our B's, night, and fright. Very good. So Mandana, you also have an example, correct? I think you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted. Hello?
I do have an example.
Perfect.
And I'm just gonna read it to you. So it's called Bubbles Got No Trouble. There once was a fish named Bubbles. He had a life of no troubles. Bubbles loves his tank. He never pulled a prank. He doesn't have any pebbles.
Very nice. So in Mandana's example, she has A, A, B, B, A. And you'll also notice that the first 2 lines are longer as well as the last line than those B lines. Very good. That was an awesome poem. And you have a fish that's named Bubbles. So that's pretty cool.
Though it's not a he.
Oh, she. Bubbles. She.
No, it's a he.
Bubbles is actually a she.
She has no troubles. He or she has no troubles. That's what we know for certain.
I bet Bubbles doesn't even know what gender she is.
All right, next.
Well, may never know. Just kind of like how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
We don't know.
No.
Well,
All right. So a limerick, in summary, has to have the following characteristics. Number 1, it must rhyme in an AA, BBA pattern and follow the syllable pattern: long, long, short, short, long. Now it's your turn, and we cannot wait to see what you've come up with. Share it in the comments if you'd like, or on any of our social media accounts. And does anybody have anything else to add before we go ahead and write some more limericks for today? Mandana.
Namaste.
Namaste, my
Namaste.
friend.
Namaste. Yes, I love it. Nice. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow for some more poetry.
see you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.